Hi everyone, Miss Barker here. We're going to continue with our learning target for the week of calculating the mean, median, mode, and range of a data set. Today we're going to start working with some real world problems. So I know that finding or calculating mean, median, mode, range was not a new skill for you. Again, this is kind of our review, but we have not done that many problems this year where this is a real world application. So let's get started. I'm going to read the problem first. Caillou is keeping track of mile times for Mr. Youngquist. The time in whole minutes for the fifth graders who have finished is listed below. So we have a couple students who have finished already, and here are their mile times. They are not in any certain order in this little table, but our job is to calculate the mean of their times. And if you remember from Monday, mean is the average of a data set. It's like we're adding up all the numbers and we're going to find the middle of them. We're going to level them out. So our first step is to add all of these numbers and to find our sum. Now, I'm actually going to write and draw on this data table because I think that's the easiest way for me. Instead of rewriting these and lining them all up by place value, I'm going to look for those kind of friendly numbers again. Right away, I see a couple. I see that 8 and 12 together, those make 20. I see that 9 and 11 also make 20. Oh my gosh, I didn't even do this on purpose. And I see that 13 and 7 come together to make another 20. So basically, what I did is kind of simplify this. I paired up all my numbers to make really easy to add friendly numbers. I know that 20 times 3 or 20 plus 20 plus 20 is 60. So that is our sum or our total of our data. Now, that's not our mean. We've got one more step to go. So step 2 in calculating the mean of a data set is to divide that sum, 60 in this case, by how many numbers are in our data set. So I'm going to re-look at this. It should be easy for me to organize since my table is already in rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to be dividing 60 by 6, and that will give us our average, give us our mean of all of these mile times. Okay, so our mean mile time is 60 divided by 6 is 10 minutes. Okay, some more word problems here. I think we have two more, and they're going to be kind of a mix of finding mean, median, mode, and range. So this problem asks us to calculate the median age of the children whose ages are listed below. So this isn't really necessarily a word problem, but just putting our data in some different context to help us think about this sometimes help build our skills. Again, finding median, that's what we're looking for. And you could go back to that video from Tuesday. But median is the middle of our data set once it has been organized from least to greatest or sorted from least to greatest. So our first step in finding median is to look at our data set and to rewrite it in order from least to greatest. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to look at my data set. I see that my least value is 10. You're also going to notice me keep modeling, crossing these out, and I only do this so that if I make a mistake, I can easily see it and it will show me if I miss a value. Okay, now I see I have an 11. Keep looking. Oh, another 11. Okay, now I have a 12 and a 13 and a 14 and 16. So when you get done, all of your values should be crossed off. And then I also like to go back and recheck that I have them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I see that I have 7 values in my ordered data set from least to greatest. Okay, now step 2 in finding median. We want to find that middle value. We're going to start crossing off one value from each side, least, greatest, alternating until we find that middle value. One from that side, one from that side, one from this side, one from this side, this side, and then you go until you can't cross off anymore. You'll either have one value in the middle or 2. But in this case, we just have 1. So we know right away that our median age of those children is 12 years. Okay, now this is a challenge problem. If you have a problem like this on your independent practice, especially one that has numbers as big as this, it is going to be optional. And there will be a note in your independent practice that says optional. That means you don't have to do it. But I'll show you why. It's so tricky. These problems are so tricky. And this is exactly like a problem you might see on the MCA. So let's start first by reading this. Heather's test scores are 81, 93, 74, and 95. So far she has taken 4 tests. What score must she get on the 5th test in order to have a mean of 85 on all 5 tests? Oh wow, this is really tricky, but we're going to use what we know about finding mean. Remember, that's our average, and the way that we do that is we find our sum of all of our values and we divide it by the number of values. So I kind of wrote that with a fraction bar there, but that's the same process we've been using. Now, having that is going to help us figure this out. So we don't know what her 5th and final test score is, but we want to figure out what she has to get to have a mean of 85. Now that tells me we need to work backwards. We want to find a number that added to these will give us a sum that divided by 5 equals 85. Now I'm going to work backwards here, and instead I'm going to find what that number is first. So I'm going to multiply 85 times 5. And what that should do is give us our sum of all of Heather's tests. Then from there, we can work kind of backwards and subtract and figure out what number she has to get on that 5th test. I'm going to start here by using the standard algorithm. I know that 5 times 5 is 25. And 5 times 8 is 40 plus 2 is 425. So this is her total value. This is what she would get on all 5 of her tests combined. I know that we don't have all of those, so it's kind of tricky to figure out, but what we're going to do is add up the 4 we know, and then we're going to subtract it from this, and what should be left over is that 5th score, or that 5th test score. Okay, so next I'm going to draw a little arrow here. I'm going to line these up by place value and start doing my addition and regrouping. So 81 plus 93 plus 74 plus 95. Okay, now I'm going to keep modeling that same strategy that I've been using over and over and over again on this review. And I am going to regroup this into friendly numbers. So right here that I see that 4 and 1 makes a 5, plus 5 is 10, plus 3 is 13. I'm going to do the same thing here. I see that I have a 9 plus 1 is 10. And then I see that I have a 7 and an 8, which is 15. So far I have 25. And 25 plus 9 is going to give me 34. Okay, next. So this is the 4 that we know. 4 known scores added up. And what we can do is take that total and subtract it from what we know that the sum of all 5 has to be to divide by 4 and get 85. Or sorry, divide by 5 and get 85. So I'm going to put this over here, right underneath here, lining up by place value. 443 subtracted from 425. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. 5 minus 3 is 2. I cannot take away 4 from 2. Instead, I'm going to come over here and borrow from my hundreds. 12 minus 4 is 8, and 3 minus 3 is 0. So the score that Heather needs to get on her 5th test score is 82 points. And if we were to go through and add 82 to this, what we should get is that 425.